Excuse me. Welcome to Jimbo's stream of madness. Today we are 3D modeling, that's for sure. That's the thing I do. Yeah, I was almost going to stream yesterday, but wasn't quite feeling the juices flowing. Bit of a stressful week, so I've just thought I'd keep on schedule rather than doing an earlier one, which is fine. So the subject for today, as we will be modelling, is going to be the legendary or the mythical Arceus. It's an interesting Pokemon to model. I did a little bit of a practice yesterday, and I've sort of been thinking about how I'm going to approach things today. And I mean, there's multiple ways to skin the cat, as they say. There's many different ways we could approach the actual, even just getting the base mesh down and then adding detail from there. We could do sculpting, we could do booleans, that sort of stuff. I'm going to stick to what I know, which is polygon modeling, so box modeling, that sort of stuff. And we'll work from there. I think I was having a bit of a struggle when I was doing a practice, and I think part of it was trying to add too much detail from the get-go and trying to get it looking good from the get-go, which doesn't always happen, especially in a more complex model. Not ready to revisit Ash from last week. That was a bit of a nightmare for me. It was one of those, the person needs to look like the person, and if it's not looking like the person, then it's not going to look like the person. I don't have a lot of experience modelling anime characters, and I've not modelled general human characters in a while anyway, so that's something I want to just spend some time practicing. Just some little personal projects, not necessarily putting out videos or anything like that. But that's, yeah, it's a skill that I used to be more comfortable with. I can still do, but I think I should, make sure my my baseline is a bit higher than just going, I don't know, chuck some stuff in there and hope that it works. Now you might notice, if you're watching, I've made my camera a little bit bigger, but I've got the NVIDIA, it's broadcast program, don't know what to call it, it's called NVIDIA Broadcast, and it can blur your background, so it makes me stand out from the back, and it makes me look a little bit more professional for free, so thought I'd do that. There is like a noise cancelling stuff for the microphone. I couldn't quite get that to do anything. So the noise gate that I've got working on OBS seems to be working just fine.
Let's test it. Yo, what's up?
Yeah, that's still going to pick you up.
Yeah.
My wife.
Hi,
My lovely,
I'm annoying.
my lovely wife. She'll be in the background making various noises at various times, as instructed. Waiting for a reaction. There's no instructions. Anyway, so with Arceus, I've got a little bit of reference. It's not the best reference. It's sort of deceptive. I thought it was better reference than it was. So we'll come into the old 3D world, and let's go to wireframe and add in on the side. We want a image and a reference image. And I'll go to my folder. I've got, it's hard to see. I want to see bigger. Zoom in. Can I make these? No. You can do a list. You can do tiles, and that sort of tiles is fine for when you got lots of different images, but these two specifically are similar enough that I could forget which one is which. So we've got a really nice front-on view here of the head. We've got an okay side view. His body is clearly tilted sort of a little bit that way, slightly away from the camera. The head looks pretty much side on. So if we could line them up, they might be fairly close, but then in this one the chin looks a bit higher than the chin on this one, so it's going to be difficult to line up and get things right. We can go, so that's my side view one, and that, I mean, I might even make that my front view one whilst we're working on things. Let's just, for now, let's move it to the side and add in another image, and we'll add in this one. So this one's got what looks like a pretty good profile, and I was working from this, and then I realized it's very tilted. You can see these are the two horns here that are either side of the head. That made it really difficult. It's got some nice angles for like when you're modeling and sort of panning around and having a look. It's got some good reference for that, but otherwise, not that great. And then lastly, we've got a colored in image, which has, it's got these angles that are sort of like 45-degree angles. These two are the same angle, but in this one the front leg's say the left leg is forward, and in this one the left leg is back, and then sort of similar. You can see where he's taking a step here, but then he's standing on all fours there. Here he's rearing up, and then this is the rearing up head, just sort of zoomed in, which I think is, yeah, that's this pose here. So someone's gone and coloured in. These are the settees or the settees of Arceus. It looks like there should be a couple more based on the numbering system that's here. You've got 20103 and 20104, so maybe there should be a 1 and a 2. There's also got a 3 here and a 4 there, so I think there is a 1 and a 2. I couldn't find them. These were the only 2 pages of sketches that I could definitely find that were useful. It's possible that there were other sketches that I saw that just weren't useful and I just ignored them. So, but I wasn't like desperately trying to be like a web sleuth trying to solve a true crime or anything. Oh, what page is this? Oh, it's going to tell us the exact way to model it. It's not going to. No, it's a fever dream. So, so let's sort of look at what we need to make. We want to make this quadruped. We can sort of look at the different shapes that are going on. So he's definitely a quadruped. He's got quite long legs. He's actually got a funny midsection with this ring that's got then bars connecting to sort of a incomplete ring. And it's also got claws that sort of come forwards and attach to the body. And the body forwards from the ring looks like, it almost looks like a rib cage or like a little fat belly. It's hard to tell which one it's trying to be. And then behind that you got some skinny hips, or a skinny waist that sort of goes into some hips and then legs. And obviously we've got a little tail coming off, and then in a similar style of that tail is the head. So they've got the sort of the hair, I guess you would call it, of the head. Sort of like a mane it doesn't look like a horn, but it's like an elongated back portion of the head, the cranium. We've got a very simple looking face. So simple that I believe in the 3D models for like the games, this is just a flat texture over a few polygons. They don't add any extra polygonal detail to like the eye or anything like that. So that's something we can look into, making our version a bit better. We've got a funny neck that sort of comes up from the sort of chest that's here, and then we've got lots of details like these spikes coming off the sides. We've got a big lumpy thing on the front of the chest. It's sort of trying to look like a big Adam's apple or a throat. It's not quite clear what that's trying to be. We've got what looks like a helmet for the head with little spikies, and then the big long mane thing coming off. And then on the legs, for example, we've got spiky stuff coming off the sides there. It looks like a sort of an elegant boot with the style of the leg, the bottom leg. You can see that a bit more here, where it's like a boot that's coming off there. And again, spikes coming off the thighs, and a fairly smooth belly and undercarriage and everything like that. So it's made up of a bunch of shapes to make something really looking complex. I don't think it's not that complex of a model. The trickiest part is going to be getting the proportions down correctly. Once we've got the proportions, then we can get the details in that will make it look much more like the model. So yeah, like I've said, I'll try a few different techniques if I need to. I'll start with polygon modeling. Like we'll block in the basic leg size, and then block in the body size, chuck on the tail, and then block in the neck, and then a blocking for the head, I think. And just having those sort of separate will encourage our ability to move them around and reshape and resize, and that will give us the ability to get it looking on model, which is the whole aim of the game. So let's try and get that. Now, I think it is, with the color and the shading, it is clearer as to what's going on. So I think I will hide these two. We can bring them back if we want. I'll rename this one color ref. What's this one? This one is, we'll call it, got my caps lock on, body sketch plus profile face. And then the last one shall be head angles sketch. Just so we know which images we're working with, and then we can sort of decide from there which one we need to bring in at any time. So with the leg, it comes down to a point. So we've got a point, and then we've got a bigger shape for the bottom that then comes out from where, I guess you'd call this the knee, along here. Or it looks like it's just below the knee even. And then there's an upper leg there. So we want to get an upper leg and a lower leg that's clearly different sizes with a little pointy foot. So to do that, we can just grab the cube that's here. We might add a control 1 on that, just to add a little bit of subdivision. Go to object mode and apply. Maybe go to what we call it, solid mode, not wireframe, although when I'm modeling, wireframe usually helps. We'll scale down the bottom of this, so that's the point of the toe. We're not going to worry about mirror modifier or anything like that yet. So we'll scale this down as well. And it's definitely, the foot is pointing more forwards. Scale that down. Hi there, Brickmark, how you doing? Welcome back to the stream. Having a go at modelling Arceus. We're just blocking in a leg. So then these points will probably come up higher. So for this sort of section, whereas these points will sort of merge down. Keep that fairly rounded. Excuse me. So we might scale in the X there, and there, scale in the X. So then we could select these polygons, extrude in, scale in, and from the looks of things, we probably benefit from, we'll move down a little bit and extrude down a little bit as well, and then we'd probably bring some of these vertices down and allow the front of this, where this part of the leg is, where it comes quite smooth. We'll sort of encourage that to happen. sort of try and figure out a flow now that will work for later. And we want to add in a bit more detail. So something like that, very basically. It's not going to give us anything close to the detail that we want, but it will give us the general readability of the shapes. Now the back is quite pointy, so we want to bring this up. And then we'll try extruding out these vertices as well. So we want to extrude up a bit. Thinking we'll do an SZ0, and I might even use my loop tools to turn that into a circle. So if you've got loop tools add-on enabled, just right click and then choose loop tools and circle, and that's really nice way to get things consistently working the way that you want them. Gives you a bit more control. And I think we want to just add a bit of relief to these edges. And let's bring this reference back a little bit on the x-axis. Excuse me. Oh,
Excuse me.
bless
Sorry.
you. That's alright.
That was violent.
So then we'll extrude this up. So I'm just looking, so this is where this edge is. This knee that's kind of sticking forwards a bit, I guess. But we want the outside piece to actually be coming up behind, I mean, what you'd call the biceps, I guess. A decent amount. And probably flare these out a bit on the X. Just to get that shape working. Now this is definitely one of those models that I think we're probably not going to get time to texture tonight. It's possible that we will, but I'm aiming to have a 3D model. Oh, my voice has gone funny. Hold on. Just give me a moment and I'll have a good cough and hopefully that fixes it. No, I did mute. Nice try. Okay. I really need a hotkey for that. I want one of those stream decks that, you know, I can just mute right now. There you go, I'm muted. Anyway, enough about that. Let's try and get this leg shape in, eh? How's it looking in 3D? It's kind of looking like it's not sitting quite correctly. Maybe bring this back a bit, this back a bit, scale it up. Maybe I need to scale this down, select that much, maybe even this one, rotate and bring back. Maybe not quite so much rotation and bring it back. Yeah, something like that. And then, so we've got this edge here as being this sort of part on the shading. So we'll bring it up here. The silhouette does look quite wide there, so we'll sort of do something like this. So we'll tilt the leg here.
Nothing happened, I'm fine.
So this will be the front legs. So what we can actually do, because I moved that in edit mode just now, so the origin point is still here. We can use the mirror just to get an idea of keeping things the right width apart. This should maybe be something like that. What I am seeing here is that the flaring on the back of the leg actually comes back out more. So we want it to be a... And we've got a shape, and then we've got... Yeah, okay, so we need to like scale in here. That's going to start to make things work. We'll probably want to flatten out this section by doing that, and then doing this, and then bringing them back and sort of giving it a rotation. So it's almost like a foot. It's not quite being a foot. I think this should be a bit longer as well. Just from there to there. Something like that.
I love when I wall myself in. Like, I'm so good at Minecraft.
Yeah, we'll bring these back as well. That's looking a bit closer to me. And yeah, I don't want to get too stuck up in the details, but I do want the size and the proportions to be correct. So, you know, you've got to pick your battles. Maybe make that whole bit a bit bigger. Something like that. It's really tricky to tell without having like the body in place and everything yet. So let's duplicate these legs. Now the back legs are similar. More pointing forwards, sort of with that more out like that. Then can probably bring this, rotate and bring it sort of back a little bit. Same with these parts, just to get that shape a bit better. And then we want to rotate this forwards, bring it down, and select the rest of this, rotate something like that. And then that's sort of this shape that comes out here, and starts to go up, and starts to go up. So you can probably something a bit closer to that. They do seem to all connect at relatively the same height, all the legs. So here they're connecting and here they're connecting. So we'll bring the top of that up to be roughly in line. And this bottom should probably be, why don't we select all of this and just scale it up a bit. So then this is one square away, so we'll just bring that down and then maybe scale it up at the Z a little bit. There we go. Something like that. So now Arceus has 4 legs, or Arceus. Generally don't know the correct pronunciation. I've seen lots of people pronounce it different ways, so I'm not too stressed. Let's chuck in a body. We'll do that. Let's do it in the same object, I think. That should be fine. So if we do Shift A cube, we can do a loop cut and go select those vertices and delete them. And that has added it as a separate object. Okay. Control J. There we go. So now it's in that mirrored object. I probably want to move this reference just up and out of the way a bit. And see, so we've got the bulbous body at the front. we will right click, subdivide, choose this and go, there's no, oh there is, turn on smoothness. That makes it look very weird, but it will do. All we need to do is select this middle, scale that up, turn on, make sure clipping is turned on as well. Okay, so now we can sort of select this, scale in the Y. So we've got trying to get this sort of bulbous body. It's quite skinny, just behind the legs, the front legs. And then it gets to the ring, which would probably be a bit further back, and then it comes into a skinny waist. So that's looking about right. And then we've got like the back end as well. That's all looking something like that. Now the question becomes, is these front legs are probably too far apart. So G and X. So if I extrude that forwards, I want them to sort of meet up with that. Probably want to just edge slide this edge towards the middle a bit, just to allow the outer edges to, for example, these to sort of come in a bit. So the connection seems to be sort of more at the midpoint. So if I bring that down, the belly sort of comes down to almost the height of here. So that's looking okay. The back legs do look a little bit farther apart, but maybe not quite that much. So I will, got the knife tool. G and X, and just bring them in a little bit. Bring in this part here. Might even bring this in. And I think I need to scale that and bring that in a bit there. Maybe do something similar here. Just soften up those edges. Does that look right? Hard to tell. It's very hard to tell. Because then there's a tail that comes off the back. I think, okay, we've got a tail that is quite thick, so scale it in just a little bit, and then it gets to be sort of quite thin fairly quickly. So something like that. Obviously not quite like that, but we'll go G and X, G and X, and G and X. Yeah, something like that. Possibly even skinnier. We'll scale these down, scale these. Not so far down, but a little bit. Excuse me, sir, but could you use Bayet? No. Quite simply, no. I have used Maya in the past. I can use Maya. I choose not to. I don't like it. I much prefer the modeling tools in Blender. To me, it's much more intuitive. And it's literally what I've built my whole channel around, so sorry. But not sorry at the same time. There is plenty of Maya resources out there if you want to learn Maya modeling. There's lots of good paid resources as well. I mean, same for Blender, so pick your poison. I'd love to help you out if you want to join in the whole Blender train. Go to search for the donut tutorial, get that done, and then you're ready to pretty much do anything. For free. That's right, for free. The only thing it costs is your time. A very polite way of asking, but also, no.
So polite.
Yeah. Excuse me, sir. Well, oh, no one calls me sir. Oh, I'm a sir now. Oh, well, very nice. I'll be a sir. Yeah, no. What's that? You want me to completely change the program I'm using and all the hotkeys and, you know, the general feel of the program, the deep knowledge that I do have of Blender that I've spent years curating? No, I'm not going to give up all that. Sorry.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I mean, it's not a crazy thing to ask. Like, because it is the same medium, it's not too weird. I guess it's like, what would the comparison be for like drawing? It would be, don't use these pencils and paper that you know and enjoy. Use these different pencils and paper that have a different feel to them.
Well, you know where my brain went? It'd be like if somebody asked me to crochet them something, but hold the hook a different way than what I'm used to.
Yeah. Or no, it'd be like using a hook that you've never used before.
Yeah, but like also having to hold it differently, because that's
Yeah.
the thing that.
Well, it'd be a hook that would force you to hold it differently. Yeah.
Which is the yikes.
Or it'd be like asking a painter to use a different brand of paints. Even though, they're both oil paints, but, you know, this brand that I like, it works a different way, and I want you to show me how to use the brand that I like. But,
Use Copic markers.
yeah, use Copic
Sorry.
markers, that's funny.
Oh.
That's sort of the comparison of that. I hold absolutely no ill feelings towards you, by the way, Diver Faction B Salmon. It's just an interesting thought to think about, you know, being asked to use a different program. Be like telling a programmer that has worked, you know, a lot of time in a certain programming language. You've hired them for a certain job, and then you're telling them, actually, can you learn this other programming language now, please? Because that's what I want. And you have to tell me how to do it. Now that looks still a bit too thick, this model. We're modelling, by the way. I'm not talking about software anymore. So I'm going to select everything. Move it in on the X. Not everything. I'm going to deselect. Press B and middle click. And then deselect. Move this in. That's a bit better. Bring that back a little bit. And then we would almost extrude possibly these two polygons, possibly these two as well, to get this neck. Because there's quite a lot going on with it. So let's do that. Let's try this one. It's going to require a bit more smoothing than I anticipated. That's okay. No.
Hey Jim, do you want to laugh?
I like laughing.
Got the notification someone tried to swim in lava.
Love it when people try to swim in lava in Minecraft. Me and my friends do have a Minecraft server that we've been playing on. We reset recently, so we're all very much into that. So yeah, my wife's currently playing there at the moment. I will join her later.
I'm so good at it. I'm winning.
She's the best.
Not winning, but I'm not losing.
Yeah.
This is a new sensation for me. I'm not the person with the most deaths.
It's me at the moment, I think. I was stuffing around.
26.
Wow.
I think I've witnessed most of them tonight.
What are they doing?
I don't know. Lots of stuff.
We've got a death counter on the server as well, so it's fun to
27.
see see who's the worst at the game.
It's not me for once.
So yeah, that neck works much better because we want the shape of the legs. It looks like we want them to sort of stick out from the neck. So to do that, we just sort of bring this in, bring that out. Obviously with a bit more polygons going on and with this merging into here and everything.
I've decided it's time to remind them that lava is the orange one. And
Lava is hot and bad. It makes you die. Cool. Okay, so we're getting the body of the Arceus looking pretty close. I'm going to add in the ring thing now. And how I'm going to do that, I think, if we duplicate this, and then let's separate by selection, go to this new cube object that we've just created, and let's try adding a skin modifier. Delightful. Can I change any of the details? Oh, there's like a hotkey for it, I think. We'll go into equalize radii. Should I do it before the mirror? After the mirror? I think after the mirror is fine. Just trying to remember, there's a button you press that oh, and it's quite far out as well. Okay. Yeah. Let's search for what the hotkey is. And we'll do this the old-fashioned way. This is a fun way to sort of learn about how things work anyway. Hopefully we'll all find what we're doing. So we're probably in the 3D view. And I think we want to be in not generic mesh. No.
You're trying to use the excuse I was in the nether.
So maybe we can search for skin. 3D skin resize. Here we go. So Control A. So I believe we'll go to wireframe. So with the vertices all select. Control A. Yes, there we go. So that resizes the skin, and the skin is just, it's like a mesh that is created around vertices. It's useful for making trees, actually. I've seen a lot of tree tutorials where people have used the skin modifier, and then, because what you can do is you can then extrude, say, off here, and then you got a bit that's connected. This would be very handy for this portion as well and stuff. So that's why I thought I'd go this route, especially as this ring is supposed to be connected to the body. So we can make that look better by literally duplicating the piece of the body that we're trying to wrap it around. So we've got all that. Now I probably scale up until the ring is just coming outside of the mesh. That's looking a bit better. Don't think I want smooth shading on. And this is also something that we can apply later on in object mode, and then add in the extra roundness or detail or whatever that we want to add in. This not being a perfectly round object lends itself to this sort of type of modeling. I'm looking at the character from various angles. It actually seems like the ring is connected to a wider part, and then just behind it, it shrinks in, rather than the ring being connected to the shrinked in part. So I want to make sure I get that right. So I want to possibly select this, edge slide up, scale up a little bit, maybe not that much, and then we'll Shift D, and then separate by selection again. Select this one, add a skin modifier, go to edit mode again, select those vertices and Control A to bring that down. just to roughly the size. And then we will again in edit mode scale up until it's just outside, so we can see it's going to come out at different points in time. I think probably top and bottom is going to be the correct place to look at, because then we can move, because of the mirror and the clipping, we can then physically move on the x-axis, that's it, to get the correct moment for when things are separating there. So I want it to be just intersecting a little bit so that it looks like it's really squished in. That looks like a better position for the ring for me as well. Now what we might try and do is in edit mode, we're going to shift D to duplicate this, scale in the Z, and then bring it out a bit, scale it in the Z. Now we'll sort of look at the distance. There is a decent amount of distance between the two sort of inner ring and outer ring. I think we want to delete the top vertice and the bottom vertice to get something like that. That's looking fairly close. And then we can even in wireframe press F to connect those two. And then we got some weird stuff going on there. I think these are like main edges, but once I've connected them, they're fine. And then it's really hard to see what mode I'm in because of what we're doing. That's okay. We'll go to front view. We'll extrude out to sort of about there and sort of maintain this angle going through. And then that looks pretty close to the ring situation. If we select one piece of skinned vertice, you can change the thickness of that. You don't have to change the thickness of the whole thing at once. So that's a nice way to get the little pointy bits going. That's looking alright to me. We don't need to get into too much detail around, where it's connecting and the little jewels and the specific shape. I think I'm just trying to look at still at the distance. I think we do want to come out a little bit further. So we can just select, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we only need to select 7 vertices. We can bring this out a bit, scale on the Z. That's looking pretty good. Now it might be a little bit too skinny, the whole thing. So we might select it all and do Control A and just bring up that thickness just by moving the mouse to the right, just to get a little bit chunkier. Now we do have those 4 prongs as well, and we can do that again by just extruding the vertices. So I'll extrude these forwards. I don't go too far forwards. They seem to come just around. So I'll come forwards to where the model is here. And then I'll come in and then come just down in a bit. I'll need to recheck that one in the front view in a second. And so it's just sort of doing a little bit of clamping. Maybe we do want to Control A all of these, probably together, to make them sort of spiky. And make sure they sort of start to intersect with the model a bit as well. Bring this in on the X a tiny bit, and then that vertice, bring it out a tiny bit. That's looking okay. Now I do think the rear end needs to come a bit closer. So we'll just bring this forward in the Y a bit. It's looking okay. I think that's one of the main detail pieces that you need to get it right for it to read as the correct animal, creature, Pokemon, monster thing. Once you got that down, then you should be fine. So, general body shape, weird artifact, you're looking good. Now there's nothing what appears to be going behind. The different reference images here, this sort of almost looks like it goes all the way into the back of the neck, even further than that. Some of them look further back, so, you know, just sort of play it by ear, see what looks good to you, see what feels good, and go with that. We can extrude up the rest of the neck, I think. It is quite a thick neck. Now the head, if we sort of try to see where the head should start, it would be definitely above the ring, but not too high above the ring. So we'll select this, maybe give him a slightly thicker neck at the bottom, bring that in, so we get into there, but the neck does come forwards quite a bit. Quite rounded. We could even extrude out a thing like that. Something like this, just to give that basic shape that's there. That takes up a good 50% of the neck from, if you're looking at from the bottom of the body up to the where the neck connects. About halfway is where the bottom of that connects, or is. So we might want to slide this down, or just grab these and move these down a decent amount, and then bring this up a little bit. Just allow that to stick out a bit and be the weird throaty thing that it is. Excuse me. Oh, I think I've got a frog in my throat tonight.
Yeah, a weird trick.
Add in a little loop cut and just get that looking good. Doesn't have to be too much, but just a little bit of pushing things around. That should be fine. And then we can, there's a sort of part that sort of from, so we've done this part which is here. I want to extrude up and sort of maybe extrude a bit that goes a bit skinnier to start off with. Something like that. And then extrude up a part that definitely scale out in the Y. And that will be more or less where the head connects. It looks to be sort of more rotated forwards. Obviously he's tilting his head back because that's this pose here. But it's definitely in a more neutral pose. The head is, the connection to the neck is tilted more forwards, sort of like that, rather than like that, or like that, or like this, or like that. I don't know. Maybe scale that up a bit. Now the head is a very tricky, weird shape, and it bothers me. So my approach yesterday with the head was to start with a rounded box and move things into place, and I got an okay result. I think I pretty much want to just build it because it's got so many planes of like flatness. So we've got, say, down the side here where this horn is, we've got that flatness there that then merges with this one, which then is part of this big helmet, and then also this side plane also comes down and around to be the chin. So I'm not going to extrude the head off this, but we can connect them all later up when we do connect everything up. Oh, these are always fun studies in how the design of something actually works in 3D, because it doesn't always work as well as you might think it could. People are people at the actual companies that make these models for the games and whatever. They are paid lots of money and they spend lots of time collaborating with various people, which is not a luxury we necessarily have here in this sort of format, where I don't have a team of 3D modelers that are trying to achieve the same thing sitting in the room with me. We can't have regular meetings, and I'm also trying to get this done within a couple of hours is the idea. We don't have any of that luxury, so we're just trying to get the whole thing done. So, the head. I'm thinking of starting with... Let's start with this vertice here. And we're going to need to move the reference again so we can actually see what we're doing. We've got a vertice. I'll turn off clipping for a moment, so then I can have a vertice there that comes out. And then I want to extrude out. So then we've got a polygon, and that's sort of the chin. I think I want to use more of this reference. If I put that down there, I can sort of see it. We've got the head angle sketch here as well, which, I mean, it's not super different. That's the sort of similar head turn. Let's try this one. So we've got the face profile, we've got the head. It's leaning back quite a bit. Maybe just bring those in over here somewhere. Might even duplicate this. Oh, let's bring that back and duplicate. Rotate Z. Z90. Well, Z not 7. So then I've got a front view reference here, so that we can try and get that to match. I might turn down actually on all of these the opacity. Can I do that on all at once? Not quickly, but we'll just do it like this. They're very bright, I'm noticing. Getting a bit of eyesore from them, so I just want to reduce that as much as I can. Make sure that I don't fatigue my eyes. And so we want to create... It's looking fairly almost perpendicular to the ground. This chin strap. That sort of comes out and goes back. Becomes... I'm just trying to imagine where I might have my vertices. So also all of this is happening out in front of the neck as well. So maybe something like this. Scale that up. Extrude that up to be the sort of the edge of this face mask. Sort of back like that. Extrude up again. And then across here would be the front of the face mask, I guess. I might try to... I think it's the top of it is a little bit more forwards than the bottom. Something like that. Although it is a sleek thing that's back like that. So we're just trying to get that in place. We can even use that front view. It's hard to get an idea on the scale for the front view situation. Might just hide that body for now. So if we've got the bottom of that, if we just want to sort of line it up, then that should be fine for now. Maybe we select these edges, bring them out. So this profile is definitely a reference I would use. It's very close to, it's not quite central, the line down the middle, but that's something to be aware of. It's an artist's hand-drawn sketch that's not meant to be perfect. It's meant to be a reference to physically copy drawings down from, so that can be why it's a bit harder to make sure the symmetry is perfect, but as long as we got the general shapes looking good, we should be fine. We do want this to be getting the correct 3D-ness to it though. If we can sort of line up certain landmarks as well, that's nice. So corner of the helmet, this sort of corner area, and then where we've got this piece that's a different color in the middle, it looks slightly extruded out. If we can line up some of the model with that, that looks good as well. And then we'll look at the side view and see, is that matching, say, this here and this here. This one here, if we bring that up, this one looks fairly closer, so I think, what have I done? I have hidden a vertex. Okay, let's Alt H, bring this vertex up, and then hide that. Oh, still got that one selected. Okay, there we go. So I just want to make sure I get this into correct sort of place. So I think we want to S and Y. I'm selecting everything there. S and Y, and just elongate this a little bit. Yeah, that looks about right. And then we want to, now this piece, I feel like we're halfway around it. So I need to bring this forwards, bring this out to sort of the back edge, and then come back in a bit. And then if we extrude that there, and connect there, and then extrude something like this. I think we would actually extrude. Let's extrude back. And then we go merge at last, because I selected that second one last. Beautiful. And we just want to get a nice rounded look, which is hard to do when you can't see what's going on. So I might want to bring this all forwards a bit still. And then start bringing things in. And just sort of trying to work out where things want to connect. And where you might want to add in more detail. Like here, you obviously want a bit more detail. We've got obviously a very raggedy looking thing. So let's use smooth, scale, bring it up. And we're sort of starting to get this nice rounded helmet shape in place. With the horn, which is this, we will select, press E to extrude, S to scale, and then just try and smooth things out, line them up a bit better, that sort of thing. And then extrude again, scale down, get that point, maybe slide that down a little bit. So we got that pointy part to the helmet. We could probably bring that in there, or maybe not too much. Something like that. Maybe even bring this out like here. Now the reference has it more spaced out, so we can approach that. And the height of the actual cranium is obviously way different, so we need to get that in, I think. And that's where we start to add in more loops that make sense. This is not making sense right now, so we'll tear that, tear it again, and there we go. Merge it center, and we can do this. And that's starting to get close. And the side view is looking quite poorly, but we'll just round things out, move certain things back. That should probably be moved back to allow that roundedness to happen. Yeah, that's starting to come into place now. Starting to look like what I think it should look like. We want to connect all of this together. So, how we're going to do that, extrude that down. We can merge at center there. Now we can be sneaky and for now just put a triangle in there. That should be fine. It's not a deforming part of the character as far as I know. But it's something to sort of be aware of, so. And then we've got how the whole model extrudes out, basically. In fact, I would.
Hey, Mr. 3D modeler person.
What is up?
I know you're busy and that you're doing stuff, but I'm really excited. I think I've got 5 of my cells just about ready for villagers. Oh, there's no other way to put it.
Very good.
I'm excited.
3, 4, 5. Yeah. So I'm just trying to make this part of the head fairly even. Now I want to make sure, because I've got this part of the model, I don't think I've got this part in there. So to achieve that, I think we want to maybe select all that, maybe get rid of this vertex for now. Extrude down and just sort of give this some better shape. Allow that to be inwards still quite a bit. And this should come in quite far back.
I'm reasonably excited about this. This is one of the most detailed builds I've ever made. It's something that no one else is ever going to see.
And we don't really have, we've got some of that in. I think we can just extrude. Ooh, no. I think we do need to extrude the whole part. And just sort of... No, I don't like how many vertices are there. Now. I do think it's important to keep this separation here. I think that is about roughly where it's going to extrude back from. And create this line here, which will then connect onto the bit of the neck that's currently hidden. So we'll just sort of try and fill in the underneath here and then bring it out, and then that should be pretty close, I hope. So connect some vertices. Got 1, 2 here, we've got 1 there, so maybe chuck in a vertex there, fill this, fill this, fill this. That's not really given us much more to work with, has it? Let's have a look. Slide that up a little bit. It's very much that this back edge needs to come down, but also be a part of the whole thing, and be further back and wider and I mean, what happens if I overlay? It's not the same angle as the front one, so let's try and get a similar looking angle where from the front most of the, like, there's not much of the chin or anything behind the chin being visible. And I guess that's the point of the head, which points up just a little bit. Yeah, that's about close. That sort of angle. So let's scale it up to match what I'm doing, and just try and get it's not going to be perfect, but get a rough idea for the sort of dimensions that we're looking for, because it's currently eluding me. So we'll scale in the, we'll just select that and scale in the Y a bit more. Just try and get sort of the distances more correct. This should be pointing more up. It'll possibly be a bit wider as well. Yeah, that's okay. Now, it might just be that I need to, let's delete these vertices down here that are being a problem. Let's extrude these ones out to that position. Yeah.
I don't have any sheep.
I've got loads.
No. I had heaps of sheep.
Oh.
There's no way that an entity could have spawned in there.
Why not?
Because it's extremely lit up and it's like
right.
closed doors and like.
I've got no idea, my love.
Well, can I come and make your sheep naked, please? Because
Yeah, you can do that.
Genuinely can't be bothered getting new sheep, but I need carpet.
Extrude that up there. Something like that. So that's giving us the shapes that I was looking for. So maybe Turn on vertex snapping, and then hold control and snap these vertices. See how that works. Maybe get rid of this edge loop because that seems like a bit too much. Try to maintain that shape. Maybe add in an edge loop here to sort of see what we can do about shape. Maybe bring this up a bit, and then we've got, we can do one or two things. I think we will do this. We'll merge at center along these for the sake of keeping it as simple as possible. And then we will do a merge by distance, because I've got a couple there that I snapped together. Much better. Okay, that's looking much closer to what we want. Yeah, that's looking quite good actually. So we'll bring this part up, maybe in. Now I think we're just a little bit too pointy there. Yeah, that looks a bit better. So for the actual facial area, it's quite easy. We can just extrude and then scale a bit, move back on the Y, move in on the X, and then that creates this lip that's sort of around the mask. It does seem to be quite a bit further back than it appears, so I'll bring that in a bit more and bring it in on the X a bit more as well. And then we can start to fill in the middle, literally just by filling in the faces. We'll select a couple of edges and hit F. Just see how we go. Now we've got a triangle in the back. It's not the worst place to add in an extra edge loop, say here, or possibly along the middle of the face. I would probably suggest I think we'll do here. And I just want to get a bit more control over what's going on, sort of at the back of the mask. Maybe bring this out a bit. Want to make sure that's more of a square, fill that in. And then what we can do to sort of get a bit more control, because we do want a funny shape happening, it's not completely flat. We can actually select this whole section and extrude it in again. And scale Z, rotate a bit. Something like that. It's kind of this weird sunken in thing. But I think it's more sunken in at the bottom than it is at the top. So we can actually bring that out and towards the back. I think it's like the mid front, it sort of comes in, and then the rest of it stays fairly uniform. Yeah. Now that I've made it look like that, it actually looks much better. Cool. So just view from a few different angles, just tidy up the position of vertices and things. I mean, it doesn't really come back that much anyway. It comes back a little bit, so we can incorporate that. I think I want to bring the height of the mask, it looks a bit wrong, so I'll bring this up. I don't want that one. That's a bit better. And the width, yeah, so sort of here, I want to maybe select O and have a fairly small area of influence so that it just adjusts around each vertex just a little bit of distance to allow us to bring that width out a bit more, and that should make it look like a bigger filled in mask, which it does. Now we can probably select these, add in a edge loop there, and just round that off a bit. Something like that, and that's looking like a fairly cool sci-fi mask type situation. It's the best way to describe it, I think. And it's all completely out of position. So now, with that in mind, we'll sort of model in the, I don't know what to call it, tail part of the head. I will just add in some vertices here and fill in that. Because that looks like it's a separate thing that extrudes out. And try to get things nice and rounded. Okay. So I think we'll extrude out once and then do an SX, SY0 just to get things roughly into shape. This piece is going to be very interesting when it comes to connecting. Yeah, I think we want to add in an edge loop, something like that. I mean, it comes off. Okay, so let's undo just a little bit. Go back to solid. It almost looks like it wants to come off at a different part of the head. So it's almost like from the back side of where this horn comes up. From there is where it comes out from, not from this sort of rounded bit that comes around. So we'll try and just reposition a little bit to get that so that it flows nicely. I'm fairly happy with the amount of geometry that we got. I don't think we need to delete any, but we'll just see what happens when we do this. It could be that we need to delete these two vertices. Yeah, that looks a bit tidier. Okay. So I might need to smooth this out a bit more. And then we've got back to here, which would be SY0. Scale it down. So that's sort of the head. I'll just follow the reference temporarily and get a general shape and size in. There we go. Bring that all the way in. Just sort of, I won't close that off yet because I'm not too sure what I want to do with it. Something like that. Let's go to wireframe, bring that back down a bit, bring that back down. And then, so probably here. And a bit that's going up. And then we can Alt-H to unhide the body. And let's just get this into position, just to see how it looks. So if we're connecting about there, does that look right? Does that look correct? Let's hide these. That looks pretty close actually. It's probably a little bit too big. He says moving his face completely out of view of the camera. Probably a little bit too big. Not by a lot. It almost looks chibi, which we don't want. So, because I've not, the rest of the body hasn't been of any particular preference, it's not a big deal. We can just scale that down. That looks better. Just that little bit of scaling. That looks fantastic. So let's bring back in that color reference that we were using mostly earlier. Get an idea. Is that looking roughly like the right head size? Could be a little bit smaller. The mane and the tail don't need to be particularly close. Although I've moved everything but the legs. Okay. Can I move? Or I've moved the legs back, it looks like, by accident. Okay, let's, come on, select the legs. Okay. Get them back into place. Yeah, that's looking good. Yeah, I think I do want to bring the head, scale it down a little bit. Something like that. And then maybe just bring this mane, I'll call it the mane, I don't know really what to call it. Just shorten that just a little bit, so that it's not taking up the same sort of space as the tail. And that's looking okay. Now the shape is something I haven't really touched on. It's got this rounded bit, it looks like, over the top. And then it seems to be still kind of rounded underneath. But it's definitely a texture change. It's definitely a shape change. So it's something to sort of look into, trying to make it. We've got quite a few vertices that have ended up along here, so we can sort of use some of them to our advantage, I think. I would probably select from here and edge slide in, just so I can control things a bit better. And I think I would have probably from about here where there's an overhang, and then allow from sort of here to come in, and it just creates a sort of a little ridge which would be along here, and then that ridge can be just sort of a different texture anyway. Maybe add in an edge loop to separate things a bit more concisely, but for now we don't need to do any of that. We're just selecting the vertices that we need, just bring them in. So that we do have that slight separation. And then here I've got quite a bit that needs to be fixed up. Now, because we've got so many vertices going on, it's looking quite wonky at the back end here. There's two ways to close off this end bit. So we can do kind of a sneaky way, and I think it should be fine. We extrude up, rotate -90, and then just sort of bring them together like that. It will actually close it off fairly nicely. I'll probably select these and just try and smooth out here. Depending on how you want things to go, bring this in a bit. I've sort of created it is a very pointy end, which it seems to have in the reference, so we can live with that. Like the tail here should probably be a bit pointier at the end, so we can achieve that by not doing the same thing, but by just doing something like this, honestly. We could do a very similar thing, but I don't think there's a need to. If we can just do something like that. Yeah, that's Arceus blocked in. I think I want to get it all joined together now. And then we could model in those extra details that are on the legs, on the neck and chest. And that would be pretty much it, I think. Where are we at? We're an hour and a half. So we're doing quite good, actually. This is an approach I've not taken with the previous models. I've been more like, just sort of start with a shape and turn it into a thing, versus multiple shapes that work to sort of together to get the silhouette looking good. I mean, this is Arceus. It looks like an Arceus now, so I can't say it's not an Arceus. Anyone looking at that would know that it is. I think I want to adjust the ring a little bit and just have these pieces are a bit higher, like this. And these pieces are a bit lower. And maybe even bring them out just a little bit. It's sort of hard to tell exactly where things should be and should end on the various references we're using. Also, should the ring be, like the outer ring, be offset from the inner ring? That's something worth trying. So should we pull that back a little bit? Does that look right? How do we compare it to all of this? I mean, from this angle you can see the bulge of this ring, inner ring, is definitely going over this ring. Here it's, you know, part of the same thing. There's not a conclusive side view that has that, I don't think. No. If anything, this almost side view shows that they're very similar positions. So I don't think we need to move that backwards or anything like that. So we can move that forwards again. Hide that. And let's start trying to get things to merge together. We've got some vertices under here. I think I'll hide the reference while we're doing this part. Got some vertices under here I can probably erase. And then select these. Probably bring that back a little bit. Let's erase these edges, so we don't need them. Now, what have we got connecting to here? So we try this, maybe try that one there, that one there, that one. We're actually quite close. Almost one for one. That's interesting. So we just need one more vertice for that. It being such a dense area, I'm just going to dissolve that edge loop because I don't need that vertice. And if anything, it should make things a bit smoother along here. We could go to lose one or two more without it being an issue, I think. So yeah, I'm not too worried about that on both the top and the bottom. So if joining stuff I need to remove vertices from somewhere, and it tails into the sort of weird head mane tail thing, that is not a problem. So now we've got a almost perfect connection. We want to make sure the shape is all shaped out nicely before we do the connection. So make sure it is going to flow into one another. Probably bring this forwards without too much sharp angle stuff going on, is what we want. So I think that's looking quite good. Let's just do some F to fill, and I've gone to a shaded mode, which I don't want. So we'll just come out and then adjust everything. That's looking okay. I might bring these in on the character, knowing that I am going to be adding stuff sticking off the side. So I'm not too worried about the perfect shape that should match the character. I just want to make it look like a nice flowing neck that fits together. That looks good to me. Just for the legs, the front legs at least, the arms I guess you'd call them, we'll need to erase this vertex at least, and then I'm going to double tap R and just sort of roll things in, and then bring that out a bit and start to align the vertices that are nearby around the outside. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if I was to say remove this edge, we're going to have 6. So that's pretty close. So if we add a loop there and a loop there, that's 8. We can then start to align things, maybe bring this back a little bit and just get things into position. We'll probably want to merge vertices rather than create polygons, so I'll just do some merge at centers, I think, just between the vertices that I think are lining up, and keep going around. It's hard to tell. We've got one there, okay, so what have we got? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So this should work, he says with a high-pitched voice that is a bit concerned. Nope, that's worked out nicely. Beautiful. Beautiful. So we'll just sort of massage these points around a bit. I don't want this vertice being so much inside. Bring these in, bring these in. That should be okay. Bring that back around. Yeah. I think these need to come forwards quite a bit. Well, that's hard to say. So those front legs are connected. Now I just want to double check the reference. The front legs are now looking probably a little bit too close together. So before that becomes a big issue, I want to just widen things apart a little bit. We'll do that by selecting all this, bringing it out a bit. And probably giving a bit more bulk to there. Yeah, something like that. Beautiful. So now the back legs. Again, we'll get rid of that vertex in the top. Might bring this down for a second and see if we can delete this vertex. There we go from the rear view. Rotate to the side to sort of match the angle of what's happening there. Scale up a bit to get fairly close. Now this should be oh man, there used to be a really handy part on the screen that showed you how many vertices you have selected. It's not there anymore. The sort of vertex count stuff is, I found, quite useful to sort of tell what I'm doing. But we can just count by hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then this was an 8 as well. because we duplicated it from the other leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So as long as we can align roughly, I think we'll be okay. I might manually get more stuff into position closer than I had on the other leg. And just sort of move the vertices towards where I would want them to be actually connecting. So it's a funny shape that's happening. It's not in the worst position for it to be happening because of where it is. But we'll merge again at center just by selecting the 2 vertices. And all of that jazz. Now, I just had the thought, you might be wondering, if you've been watching my videos or streams in a complete vacuum, why is JJNOA 3D, the Jimbo Jam, actually modelling Arceus? Well, there was recently an announcement of a new game called Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is set in the past, and it looks quite cool, and it's like an open world game. It looks really, really interesting. And they also obviously announced the Diamond and Pearl remakes, which are the first games that Arceus was introduced. So, a little bit of excitement around that, I guess. Maybe, sneakily trying to work the algorithm a bit. People are actually talking about this Pokemon right now, so Pokemon's a subject I have been working on for several months, so I might as well give myself the best chance for success, whilst also working along the project that I was already working on. Now, I hadn't moved into any other generations than first gen yet, but there are lots of interesting models out there, or characters out there for Pokemon, so it's fun to actually get into that stuff. So let's do a little bit more. So we want to get some detailing done. So we want to get I think I'll start on the neck. So we've got a bigger spike at the top that comes almost halfway down this thing. And then we've got a smaller spike that sort of is between the legs and everything. So we'll get that in. I think we'll need to edge slide these down. And these, and then where does the start of that? So it starts above the jewel, so we can probably select these 2 polygons and then extrude out and just scale that in, and then I think it needs to come out a little bit further, scale in a bit more, and then we can actually round things off a little bit. Scale these together. It's not just a straight up square spiky looking thing. It doesn't look quite tall enough, I think. So I'll bring these vertices up. And maybe these vertices need to come back a bit in the Y, just a little bit. Cool. And then the next sort of spiky thing happens pretty much directly below that. Let's deselect that vertice, bring this out. So we can probably select these and then extrude, scale, and it's not quite as, doesn't come out quite as far, so we can, looks like we need a loop in between, so let's get that in there. There we go. Just to allow us to change so let's select these 2, scale them down. So because it's not super square, if I didn't have that loop in, moving the vertice that's here to make this look nice and round would screw up that one. So we want to move this vertice up. Just soften things off a bit. And maybe scale in the X. Bring that in a bit. Maybe bring these bottom bits in a bit. And bring these back. There we go, starting to look like Arceus now. We've then got, so we've got a spike coming off the top part of each leg. And I think that's about it. There is, when he's doing this, the knee is quite pronounced and pointy. We can model in a bit of a knee in a moment. That's not too big of an issue. Yeah, I think we're almost there. And the little gold bit on the head, it looks like it wants to be it's almost painted on, like flat, but it's almost rounded out as well. It's hard to tell which it is. I think it would look better if it was slightly 3D and sort of, you know, bigger and rounded. What is going on? Are you okay? The cat just headbutted the underneath of my desk twice. I think he woke up and startled himself because he's sitting on the top of my computer. Let's just tidy up a little bit. That's good. And so the tops of the legs, probably these polygons here, extrude, scale, bring them back a bit, try and sort of round things out a little bit where we can. Not super easy to do on like a leg that's joining onto the body at the same time. Now the angle, as I have just noticed, is more down from the top in all of the, I mean, it's really hard to see anything going on there, but it's quite down there, so I don't want it to be pointing up like it is. We want this to be more in the middle, scaled in, not like that. That's very good. And then similar on the sort of the thighs that are here, extrude, scale, bring them back a bit, and down. Scale these outer vertices and scale these just a little bit, just to give a bit of extra chance for that to look good. Yeah, that's looking good. That's pretty much all the shapes of Arceus in place. As a concept that I was looking at, I thought that's achievable. It's going to be difficult, but it's definitely achievable. I think I want to shorten the neck a little bit. There's two things I'm seeing. I'm seeing this distance here isn't quite as big as this distance that I've got, and this distance here is not quite as big as this distance. It's not by a lot, but I think it will just make sure that the model's looking good. So we bring the neck down just a little bit like that, and then select probably this and just bring that down, and then maybe this portion, bring that down as well. Yeah, that makes him look a bit thicker, stronger, more of a warrior sort of situation than what we had. I think I want to bring these back a little bit. And I'm just looking at over the model and looking for anything that looks out of place. Anything that's not matching up with the reference. We could probably go to shade smooth at some point. We'll just do a quick shift N with everything selected. I'm not sure you can. Oh, you can do the in the modifier here, can't you? Smooth shading. So that looks good. And that's looking alright. We're obviously very low poly at this point. So getting all of the details to look good when we subdivide this is not going to be super duper easy, I don't think. It shouldn't be super duper hard, but it shouldn't be, probably not going to be too easy. I mean, it looks far less bad than I was expecting, so that's good. We could probably do with an extra loop in there. And probably an extra one there. Possibly there. No. Or possibly just in the middle to thicken it up. Yeah, that looks alright. The details aren't too off. We'd probably add a loop there to encourage that rounded part to stick out. We probably also want to edge slide that up, edge slide that down, maybe bring out the middle of this a bit, scale them together a little bit to get that nice rounded part of the model. We can also have a look at how this looks with the subdivision surface on it. Probably a little bit too low poly, so we can sort of look at things like the divisions between here and clicking subdivide, and that will give us a little bit more roundedness, but like the reference, you can see it's this not super duper roundedness. So if we do that, sorry, it's really hard to see with the skin, so we subdivide here as well and just give that a bit of extra dimension. That's looking pretty good. Yeah, we've already got that sort of in place there, so that is okay. It doesn't look like it's a flat metal with rounded edges. It looks fairly rounded metallic object type situation. Where things cross over, it shouldn't be as drastically different as it is. That is probably a case to help with by doing subdivisions here and subdivisions here. I think I want to make it all a little bit thicker anyway, especially maybe around here. So we do Control A, something like that. So because we're using like a generative process, it's not going to be as easy to control as if we were doing it by hand. Yeah, I think I've got to yeah, so make things a bit wider on the outside and then a bit thinner on the actual intersection. That seems to be getting us there. And make this a bit wider just before it. We're not quite that wide, but something like that. Looking a bit better. sort of tricky to see where things join, if I can add any more detail to any of that. I almost would like a edge loop around here, or maybe that connects around into there, although that would be a lot of reconstruction work, so we'll just leave it as it is for now. Yeah, I think, how are we doing for time? We're hour 50. I really do want to almost chuck in the gold, the white and the grey, and just get an idea for how it's looking. I think we'll do that. We can also, there's the gems that go on here. So we've got green gem thingos. Let's make those first. So we'll add in a cube. We'll subdivide it twice and apply that subdivision. And then in edit mode, we'll select scale, scale Z, scale it down, rotate, just get it in front. So it's supposed to be something like that. Maybe a bit smaller. Something like that. Bless you. That's embedded in there. Little green gem dude. We'll shade smooth. Maybe bring it back on the Y a little bit more. If I had more fine control of this mesh at this point, I would sort that out to make it look more indented and a part of that, but we don't have that right now, so I'm not going to worry about it. We will, let's go to mirror, we'll do that. Also Shift D, I think. Oh, let's try Z. Okay, that's not quite fitting, is it? No. So let's duplicate that and rotate by 180 on the y-axis, and then move into place in edit mode. Ooh. Beautiful. Looks great. I don't think there's any other details that we're really missing. No, it's all looking fine to me. We don't have any eyes modelled in, but we'll just leave that sort of being weird and dark for now. So I think edge slide that up a little bit. I want this to be roughly in line, so then I can mark it as a seam. I don't think I want this selected here or this selected, but I do want basically down to where it connects to the neck. To make it, this is to make it easier to have these separations of textures. So just by simply having it as a separate UV island, we can mark a seam there. Comes all the way around, that's fine. And then on the inside edge of this, we'll mark a seam, that should be fine. We will mark the rest of that to be a seam as well. It's going to be tricky in certain places, because I do want to get this sort of black thing or grey thing going. So it goes underneath the belly. Does it? No, it doesn't. It's sort of the front torso, and then between the ring and where the sort of torso comes in, it's sort of just about here. So if we select this, something like this area is all that black weirdness. Maybe a bit further back where I don't have any vertices, so let's add some. I think this sort of comes up like this a bit, maybe. Could be hard to tell. Let me bring this out a little bit, just want to give that a bit more roundedness as much as I can. Okay, so let's go, so back here. Well, let's select edges. Get a wireframe, select the edges I want. So I think those ones, that might not be super duper close or correct. I'll maybe even go back here and clear that seam. Something like that should do it. The gold parts on the feet, I think I'll have to just paint separately. It's not a big deal. I just want to get these legs with seams, and then a seam up the back if possible. Not all the way. I think I just want to unroll it, and it should be fine. Mark that. Oh no, let's not mark all of that. Okay, mark that as a seam. For the body, whilst we're here, I think the neck, like that, should be a seam. And because we're mirroring, we don't really need to worry about the center line too much. But we'll select the edges that make up the back leg where it connects. Oops. Mark that seam. And then we've got this big old loopy doop. So we'll deselect all the ones that we don't want. And we'll keep that one, I think. And then mark that as the seam. Probably want to separate off that tail. Mark that as a seam. That looks pretty much what I need. For what we're doing. We'll do a U unwrap. And then on here we will go to texture paint. I think we will need to create some different materials and things. Let's just add in a vertical split. Go to what do we want? Probably image editor. Do not UV editor. Probably just check the UVs first. Well, what do you call that? Is that the... Oh, I've got several objects selected. Okay, go back to object mode. Just select that one. And just unwrap that separately. Okay, so that's fine. This looks like it's the head. So I do think there needs to be a seam, probably something like here. Let's try that. It's a bit better. Just a few less big, weird, long pieces. So these are the two separate tops and bottom of the head. That's fine. I'll turn that off. So, I mean, what I would do is, like, even try and place things together. Maybe I don't need to so much whilst I'm just messing around. Just want to slap a couple of colours on. Yeah, let's not stress too much about that. So for the golden rings, let's add in a new material. We'll call it gold rings, and go for a golden colour. I think it's a very orangey sort of gold, is it? And this is with the opacity down. So yeah, it's an orangey, yellowy sort of gold. Go to material view. We will assign. Is that what we want? No, I think I need to apply the skin because it's not trying to. That is fine. Bit of weirdness going on at the mirror. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. Beautiful. So now I can actually see the colour and sort of adjust it. I got pretty close on that first try. I think it needs to be a bit more yellow, something like that. Maybe it needs to be darker. Something like that. And then we can go to we need to create for this model we need a new image that is, just go 2048. Oh, 2048. We'll start white. Thank you. Oh, very bright. And I mean, generally things are off-white anyway, so we can probably go with that. We'll call this Arceus diff. And on the texture here, we can set that image texture to Arceus diff. So then when we go to texture paint mode here, and on here we go to we are in the image editor and we want to paint. We can then start painting blue stuff on the model. Hooray! Okay, so like I said, everything is generally off-white anyway, so we can fill that with a slightly off-white colour just to take the edge off things. And I think I want, if you go to the UV editor, no, UV editor, turn off, where is, go to image editor, paint, view, UV editor here, go to object mode here, and then go to edit mode, go to sync UV selection, and then come back out to texture paint. And then on here, go to image editor. You get the actual islands showing up. There must be an easier way to get that to show up, but for whatever reason, I haven't figured that out. So whatever. Let's just live as we are, and think this is the face, is my guess. So I want a color that is like this metallic silver. So let's try picking that just off there. That looks okay. We'll paint. Oh nope, I don't want to fill. I want to paint. and I've lost that colour. So that's why we have a colour palette. So we will do that. We'll go new, add that colour, just so that we can keep it. We'll see how this grey looks in that face. Yeah, to me that looks too light. It looks like I've not quite... Oh no, that's just the lighting. So I think I want to darken that a decent amount. That's looking better. Nice, sheeny, sleek, dark, metallic colour. Then I want to find which part of the headpiece is the bottom. I think it's this one. Yep. So we'll get these rough colours in just to sort of get an idea. Because these colours can make a big difference on telling whether or not the actual model's working. I think it is. I think it's actually starting to look quite nice now. I want this gold to be brighter, that's for sure. And I've got some really poor naming conventions going on. So let's go. This one is Arceus. Arceus. And then we've got the gold rings. And then we got let's select this and let's just oh no, not that. Let's apply the mirror and apply the mirror on these two, and then we can do it just in here. Actually, we can just select those two. So we've selected the little gems and do Control J. So they're now one thing. We'll just call them gems because then we know what they are. And we can go, oh look, the gems need a new material. We'll call it gems. And then they'll be green. And then we got green gems. Now this, I want the brightness up. I think, I don't have any like metallicness on. Probably turn that up. Specular. Roughness. Yeah, increase the roughness just a bit. There we go. I don't know if much of these other settings will change too much because it's definitely metallic. I'd probably tone down the metallic a little bit once you get the if we're in this view. Oh, we do have a HDRI on. Okay, so that's good. So that's actually, I'm quite happy with that colour now. That's looking really good. It's looking super weird where the mirror is and stuff, but that's just modelling stuff we can fix at a later point. That's not a big deal. I think we want to colour in the chest area, which would be just underneath the chest. So I can't quite tell. Which shape is it? So to find out, we'll go here and paint on there. And it's actually this piece here. So we'll just colour this all in. See how it looks. Is that looking close to the reference? It's not. I've got this pointy bit out on the side. So I need to figure out which part that is. We'll add... We need to add that colour to the palette because we changed it. And then we will colour pick the background colour that's sort of the off-white for everything. I'll add that as well as a colour. Now I think it's this part. It is. Because I've got fairly sharp edges along the rest of it, I don't want to mess with that too much. So I want to go to the stroke, I think, no, the fall off. And set that to... I think sphere looks fairly good when you're painting. It's fairly sharp shape, but it's not too sharp. So then we can even come into the 3D viewport and tidy things up a bit. and that's one of the many benefits of working like this. And if you do have like a 3D tablet, then you can, or not a 3D tablet, a screen tablet, or even a regular tablet, you can make use of this so you can paint onto your model, which is nice. I like to do that a lot of the time. So we've got the chest all piece. It does look like it comes down onto the legs as well. Sort of like, oh, that's the wrong colour. Select the right colour. Something like this. There is some weird stuff going on there, but we'll try to ignore that. Just try to tidy it up a little bit. So we got, yeah, these sort of almost pointy shapes that sort of come down into the legs as well. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there, but I'm sure that can be fixed. And yeah, you see like the shape that's nice and smooth along this edge here is not the same as what it looks like here. I would never have been able to paint these specific little things by hand quite easily, so having the 3D model that you can paint straight onto is a big help with that sort of stuff. Now we want to paint under sort of in the back legs, thighs, and under the tail as well. Now that, I am not sure which pieces that is. I think the tail might be this piece here. I think. But let's paint in that general area and see. Make sure we got the right colour. So let's paint there. So yeah, we've got that there. And then the inside of the leg is there. So we can sort of get as far as we can on the actual 2D map, because on the 2D map like this you get better performance, so it can be tricky to get, you know, especially big swaths of colour in that you want to get in. That can be difficult to do. So that's looking okay. We don't want it. We want it to sort of come up a bit, but not like this in a big weird pointiness. So we can just tidy that up here, like that. And then we do want to come further under and then fix up the inner thighs, sort of like this. Something like that, I think, is fairly close. We could possibly come further down on the thighs, but not by too much. The inner thighs. And I feel like this probably comes up to about there and looks something like that. I'm not sure if it comes from the ring backwards or not. It's very difficult to see. It might be from this reference image here that it was coming from that ring and then going backwards. I'm going to leave it as it is. Now there's a bit of gold that needs to go on the front of the feet. Oh, and the top of the head. We didn't model that in. I mean, it's a simple shape. We can just pretend that someone else did it for us. Now, because it is a separate colour, it's almost, I think it's supposed to be the same metallic as these. You'd almost want to assign a separate material to those vertices, which you can do. Not going to do that for now. Let's go to object mode and see if we can, under here, pick that color, see how close that gets us. I want to be with Arceus selected. go to texture. There we go. Okay. So little gold feet are here, and it's just like a bit that comes sort of under the foot and then on the front of the foot, and that looks to be what it's doing on all of them. So we can even just paint that in here. We'll just go under the foot and around this side, get that roughly looking right, and then up the front of the foot, maybe bring the size of the brush down, make a cool pointy thing, something like that, and come back to this white and just tidy that up as well. Now the inside is not quite right. Oh, I need to get that colour again. Come back. Is that the right colour? That is not the right colour. Can you? Oh, it's not. Nope. So let's undo a few times and see. That's just undoing the painting. Okay. Edit. What is redo? Shift Control Z. I'm happy with the painting. I just need to get that colour back. So we selected that by going to Object Mode, so that this is the. Also, like they become not in focus. They grey out the parts that you're not working on. So then we have to come here and select. Oh, there we go. Select that as before. I could probably select it off here. There we go. That's a more definitive color selection. And then we select the object and then go back to texture paint. And then see that gold sort of went back. But now we can actually paint that color back on the side there. It's not super neat. It's getting the point across. And then on the back legs, let's just double check that reference again. So it comes up quite far. Covers the sort of back of the toes and stuff, and then it comes up quite far up the front. So we can do that as well. So that is down here. Okay. So we've come too far up the back, that's fine. We can bring that back again. We'll just see, so that's just this part of the texture map, that's not too hard to. Actually that's come out quite fine, as it is. Beautiful. So we might bring back the, we'll add that to the palette, and then just bring back the bits that are on the toes here. And tidy up the rest of it on this side as well. Just sort of long swoopies is how you get the how I get the paintbrushes to work nicely together. And I think there's a bit of space for some green eyes near the back and a green dot underneath. I think we got space for that. So the green is a darker green, something like this. And I'd very much like to have that reference. Let me just go to object mode. Yeah, position it something like that. Select Arceus, go to texture paint, and then we can texture in. So the green eye is sort of near the back. Something like that, and then you've got a circle underneath. Oh, yeah, let's zoom in. And then something like that. It's got hard edges. And then of course there is all the extra lines and stuff that are involved. That's not as easy to get. To draw on at least. Now the eyes do have, so we've got a red portion to the eye as well. That looks a bit brighter. Like that. Maybe a bit further forwards. That looks okay. And I think the eye would benefit from having the black lines and stuff that are a part of it. So I'll bring down that size. And I mean, there's a black pupil, something like this. Probably a bit bigger and darker. So here you can see I'm running into limitations of the actual texture map by only doing 2048 by 2048. It's very pixely when we're doing small details like this. And I've made that pupil bigger than it should be, just so that we can see it. I normally probably wouldn't go quite that big, but it needed it, so that's where we're at. Do a very rough outline of the eye. Sorry. Try and keep a steady hand. Of course, the more you try, the harder it gets, so. Something like that. Yeah, that's Arceus. We would want to do basically have black lines that, I mean, they're not. We can try and do them across the face. Let's try. So they come across. Probably. Oh Jesus! What thickness do you go for? It's hard to tell because you want to match what your reference is. And right now what I'm looking at is where someone has used basically a pen of the same thickness to do the outline of the eye, as well as the detail of the lines going through the metallic pieces, which is not necessarily how it would be on a 3D model version. Also, that red is way too high, it should be much lower. Let's just pretend that it's perfect and that no mistakes have happened, because time is running on now and I don't want to be going for too much longer. So let's sort of try and paint in these details where I can. So on the face it's okay, and then obviously, oh god, let's hide. No, let's go to, let's hide it there. There we go. So then the next challenge would be to get the black lines coming all the way up here, and I mean, it's not going to be a super easy way to do it other than possibly like this and like this, and just sort of being like, yeah man, that's how it's supposed to be. And then on the front of the body, we've actually got quite a small section of the UV map here. So again, this is why I would normally come in and scale up certain parts of the map. You know, possibly have a 4K, like a 4096 by 4096 texture map, because it's just not quite enough to get the nice details in that are there. It'd probably add some sort of texture to the white as well, because it's all very white and there's not much going on. We can try and do a little bit of, I mean, how many, turn back on the color F, how many lines have we got going down the front? 2. So we just need to paint in 1. because of the mirroring. So something like that. Probably be a bit smaller. A bit bigger. Tiny bit smaller. Yeah, something like that. And then it's sort of like, you know, what part do I paint? I don't know. We're guessing. We're just drawing a couple more. Something like that. Probably bring this line forwards like that, just to make the details be there. If I had the time and all that sort of stuff, I would probably model in all these as separate sections, have like edge loops with, you know, extrusions sort of going in, and make that look really cool. And I'd also model in the eyes. I think they deserve to have 3D-ness to them. And we are missing still that little metal piece on the front of the head. I can't tell which. That's the chest, that's here. And got the face piece. Is there a part of the model that appears to have that face piece missing from? Not that I can see. So we will select the gold, paint roughly where we want it to be, see if that has shown up anywhere. Here. Okay, and that's the green from the eye where I was painting just now. So we can select that white and just tidy that up a little bit. And then turn on our gold colored ref and just see what's going on. So there's okay, so something like that should be fine. We go back, no, we go further this way. Because the seam is along the center of the head. Right, I'm seeing that now. So that's probably too far back. So I'll probably come back with the white and just tidy that up a bit. Yeah, it'd be nice to extrude that out and make it look a bit more interesting. For now, that's all we got. Yeah, that's 2.5 hours. That's gone fine. I'm happy with the model. It definitely looks like Arceus. It's such a more detailed character than I have modeled up until recently. Especially in this time frame of, you know, getting it done on a stream. It's just a matter of needing more time with all of the model to get it looking really, really good. But the shapes are definitely there. The proportions are there. If anything, it might just look a bit better without that subdivision on at the moment. It's hard to tell. Maybe just leave it at one subdivision, so you get a little bit of that chunkiness still in there. I can chuck in a environment texture that I have on my desktop. This one. There we go. And we can also hide it. Go here, turn that to transparent. And we've got, yeah, that's looking quite nice with decent lighting. There's, yeah, lots of pieces like where I spend a lot of time with the rings, join them all up correctly, spend a bit of time with the flow of the mesh, get the, you know, this nice thickness to sort of carry through to here a bit better. Maybe increase the thickness of the inside rings, you know. The ends have come out quite rounded. I probably want them to be a bit more pointy. And the colour, the white is still a bit too, probably a little bit too white. It's not able to show off like shadows and stuff very well. Sometimes that is what you're going for. I mean, Arceus is a hard nut to crack. Oh, it's quite a bit untidy in there. Let's just not look at that. Pretend we didn't see that. But I mean, you can't deny we've modelled Arceus tonight. So if you have been watching and following along and enjoying, hit like and subscribe and follow and send me all your money. If you've got a free house, I'd love one of those. Just a house to put my stuff in, you know. Just an extra one. I've got chairs that need places. Yeah. No, but I'm happy with the model. Much happier than I was last week with the Ash model that didn't quite go to plan. I'm not going to say not to plan. It didn't. The model didn't. It didn't look like the character we were trying to model. And that's. I mean, that is something I sort of have noticed on looking at reference for Ash. I've noticed there's not a lot of 3D models of him, and when they are, it's red, and they don't look anything like Ash. So it's sort of, tricky to be right about and be wrong about. Either way, I'm happy for today. I will be back next week with another Pokemon. Haven't decided yet what it's going to be. I decided fairly early on this week that I was going to be modelling Arceus because of the news coming out. I might do the starters. So there's 2 sets of starters to look at. There's the ones from the new Arceus game, which are starters from different generations, which is quite fun. And then there's the starters from Generation 4, which are, pretty iconic as well. They were a part of when Pokemon was becoming more mainstream, I guess, rather than a kids thing. It's a kids and generally older people can enjoy it as well. And that was quite a cool point in history, I thought, of Pokemon. Yeah, so that's where we're at. I do have Patreon now. We've got Discord as well. So if you're looking for that stuff, I'll probably post links in the description of the video, just because that's easier. But yeah, quite happy with how things are going. More than happy to chat to people in the comments and that sort of stuff. Let me know what you're thinking. If there's any help that you need with any particular type of model. I'd love to do a session where we can have a bunch of people in and just going over like modeling issues people are having. If you've got a model that you would like me to look at on stream or on video and you're having an issue with X or Y, whether it's trying to get the actual polygons to fit together correctly, if you're having a issue of why can't I make it look like the thing I want it to make it look like, I'm happy to have a look. I think that would be a fun stream where I go through a bunch of people's different stuff. I'm not quite sure that there's enough of a community that is active and engaged yet, but that's a point I would like to get to. If that could be, sort of in pipe dream world where I'm a professional streamer and I do it every day and all that sort of stuff, that could be a daily stream rather than me modeling something. It could be me going over the community stuff and giving feedback and my advice to how things can be completed. Yeah, that's sort of, those are the sort of things that I have in mind of things I'd like to do. For now, we're continuing with the streams. There will be some videos on the way, as I have been saying. some time frame. When I've got a few in the bank, I will start posting, just so I can try and have one going up a week as well as a stream. But until I've got those few in the bank, then I will not be posting them yet. It takes a lot more time to put together a video than most people would realise. So yeah, that's where we're going. Anyway, appreciate your patronage of the stream, and any love that you want to send my way through the whole clicking of the like button. That will make me go up in the algorithm and be a super rich and famous person in no time. See you later. Thanks for coming. I'm terrible at goodbyes, but thanks for tuning in.